Hi, I'm Billy Mitchell with FedScoop TV. Today I'm here with Matt Goodrich, the Director of FedRAMP at GSA. How are you, Matt?
Good. It's good to be here.
Yeah, great to have you back. Today I want to ask you a couple things about your career in government so far as one of our Fed mentors. So I wanted to first ask you about your first job in government and then what you're working on today.
Great. I first came into government as a presidential management fellowship right out of law school and started at the CIO shop at GSA under the Chief of Staff, Katie Lewin, for the Chief Information Officer, Casey Coleman at the time, and started on the cloud computing initiative. The cloud was sort of a new term into government, and so we started that initiative, and I started working there. Also did a brief stint during that fellowship at OMB at the White House, working under the first federal CIO, Vivek Kundra. And then now out of that work, evolved sort of my job into running FedRAMP, which is the government's cloud security program. So whenever we use cloud, how are we going to secure and make sure that we can actually put data in there? Yep. So that's the program that I run now.
Okay, cool. And has anything changed since then? What's different about government today in your current role?
It's really funny. I think 6 years ago when I started, cloud was new, and so was mobile, and sort of BlackBerries were sort of just becoming somewhat pervasive in government, which is kind of weird to think that it was that short time ago. But also our offices were pretty siloed, and we didn't really collaborate much. And so where GSA is now versus where we were 6 years ago, in our office space alone, we're now in a collaborative environment that's much more like what you'd see at the New York Times or Living Social, where it's really collaborative, open environments. You have workrooms here, but you're really seeing everyone sort of collaborate. But also I don't have to be in the office all the time. It used to be that I had to be in the office to do my work. But now I can have my laptop and my iPad and my mobile device and be wherever. I can be the same as if I'm in the office. I can be on Google Hangouts talking with my team if I'm at home or if I'm across the country visiting some friends or family. So really that ability to sort of work anywhere and just do your job instead of actually having to be physically sitting at your desk has completely changed over the last 6 years at GSA.
Sure. And then looking back on the last 6 years, you said a lot has changed, but what have been kind of the keys to your success during that time?
I think one of the biggest things for anybody is always going to be having a great mentor. Mm-hmm. You always, need to work with other people, but also when you're coming into a career, you're not going to know everything. So you need to have someone who can give you great guidance, give you good advice, and I had that with my first boss, Katie Lewin. She was fantastic in sort of not only promoting me, but I come from an idea of sort of challenging the status quo, and she really encouraged that, but also gave me the guidance on how to do it effectively. Sure. But also making sure that she trusted me enough to say, good, go and do it. And so I think identifying that key person that can sort of help you launch your career is absolutely critical for anybody.
Okay, makes sense. Looking back on those initial moments, you had a mentor, but it can be overwhelming, exciting, lots of different things being that young in government. What are some ways that a young person starting off their career in government can navigate that sometimes testy waters and difficult situations? Yeah,
I think the thing that's interesting about government that can make it overwhelming is we're an enterprise of enterprises, right? We've got agencies that are an enterprise, and then you've got the entirety of the federal government. That's overwhelming. It's not a small startup where you have a specific defined set and there's only a certain amount of things that you do. The government does everything. And so really being able to sort of narrow down what you do and where your specialty is. I think just like I had the mentor, I came into the fellowship with a few colleagues that we still get together every once in a while to talk about what we're doing, where we're going. But having someone else that you trust in that same sort of world, that you can talk about where you see things going, where you maybe feel a lack of direction and they might have better ideas, but having those sort of trusted colleagues that you can talk to, I usually call them your work best friend, and hopefully sometimes they become like a true best friend, right? But those people that you can actually just talk with and sort of see the sort of breadth of the government and be able to sort of narrow down exactly what it is that you can do. Those are absolutely sort of, amazing relationships to have. One, for your career, but two, just for your life in general to make it all work.
And are there any other kinds of resources that you saw out there coming through the government that you would recommend to people in your situation?
Sure. Another cool thing about government is that there's events like this, FedScoop events. They're usually free for government or low cost for government. There's a lot of other sort of trade associations, ACT-IAC, which is a true partnership between government and industry. A lot of sort of networking events. Like I keep talking about the people aspect of it. Can't underscore that enough. And if you're in the government and inside the Beltway, particularly, it's going to be really easy to see those events, but it's really important to go to them. Networking's hard, particularly for the introverts like myself, but you learn so much from it. I think you learn so much from the people that you're in and around, and I think 25% of your job is your knowledge, 75% of it is the people that you know,
Sure.
and the people that are going to have the answers. You're never going to know everything. So you need to be able to network and know the people who know the answers so that you can effectively do your job.
Good advice. Lastly, government's often criticized for lacking in innovation. You work in an innovative role, so maybe you could best answer this question. Why would you encourage young people to serve in government right now?
It's interesting. I always hear the government's not innovative, it's not cool, there's not, it's so bureaucratic. And with we talk about the enterprise of enterprises, anytime you have something that large, there's always going to be a status quo. There's going to be something that's been done for years. But the government in general is a great place to innovate. I mean, we've got the resources of the entirety of the government, right? The government itself is the largest buyer of IT in the world. So there's plenty of resources to innovate, and there's lots of great things the administrations have been doing to push innovation. And so I think also millennials, I'm a millennial, we are the generation of challenging the status quo. So if you do think that it's actually not doing a job, then what better place to change it than the federal government? Plus, I could say, honestly, having another career in law and other things as well, that I've worked with the smartest people, the most hardest working people in the government, rather than in private sector. There's lots of smart people in private sector too, but I think there's a lot of really smart, fun people that work in the government. It's the greatest mission. You're working for the taxpayer. What better mission could there be?
Great way to put it. Well, Matt, that's all I have for you. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Yeah. I'm Billy Mitchell with FedScoop TV. Thanks for watching.